Alright, so it's definitely been tough on Riot this year. Leaks have smacked basically every champion being released, but what I'm pleased to announce is that basically every single leak that I've seen about Nilah was actually very incorrect. So I'm happy to welcome you all to an official look at Nilah The Joy Unbound, or the newest Star Guardian to join the roster. Riot was kind enough to let me see the champion a day early to prepare some content for you, so you can prep yourself for some quality Nilah videos over the course of the next few days. She's going to be hitting PvE later today on June the 22nd, so if you are lucky enough and you can get your hands on her, expect to see her as early as 6 hours after this video is posted. Otherwise, I'll be trying her out on my stream a little bit later, and I'll be posting some gameplays as soon as I'm done with that, so feel free to keep your notifications on for it. There'll also be a short, digestible version of this video with no nonsense you can send to your friends if they ask about what she does coming up in a little bit of time. Before we get properly into it though, thank you so much for choosing this video over literally any other video you could have picked to get your info from. I really appreciate it, and hey, a like or a subscription is probably asking too much at this point. So is asking you to check out the new shirt on my clothing store. Alright, let's get into things. Nilah is the brand new bot lane marksman coming to League of Legends very, very soon. She is powered by the Demon of Joy, and Nilah, she has no emotions beside unceasing jubilation, which she weaponizes by drawing the demon's liquid form into her hand and using it as a whip. She is a melee carry who deals a lot of AoE damage and helps to push her supports forward with some of her abilities. Her passive is Joy Unending. If Nilah last hits a minion, she and the nearest ally champion gain 50% of the experience that would normally be lost from sharing with nearby allies. Nilah gains additional effectiveness from heals and shields given to her by ally champions. When a nearby ally casts an ability that heals or shields Nilah or themselves, Nilah grants additional benefits to both herself and the ally. Any shield that an ally places on Nilah is first of all amplified, and then a portion of it is given back to the person shielding her. Likewise, if they shield themselves, Nilah will obtain a portion of that shield for herself. This ability can potentially make her bonkers with enchanter supports, not only being granted increasingly better shields as time goes on, but with the extra XP that she gains from her passive. I think a writer mentioned that she gains about 80% of the XP that she would gain if she were in a solo lane by having a support there. So she will always be able to get level 2 first. She'll be able to get that power spike quickly, which could be very, very powerful. Her Q is called Formless Blade. Its passive is it attacks and ability damage against champions from Nilah, ignore some of their armor and heal Nilah for a part of the damage dealt. This effect scales with crit chance and can overheal, granting Nilah a shield. Its active is that Nilah strikes in a line, damaging all enemies hit. Hitting an enemy champion increases Nilah's attack range and attack speed for a few seconds. Additionally, her basic attacks will splash in a cone, dealing additional damage. Having spoken with some writers, I can answer a few questions here on this ability that you might be asking. Beyond that, it's a pretty basic ability though. What does ignore armor mean? It basically is built-in armor pen. It can overheal granting a shield. Does it stack with overheal the rune? Yes, it does. It works and stacks with a similar effect like Bloodthirster. What's the cooldown on the ability? What's the duration of the ability's effect? Now, this can obviously change, as can every single ability, but they did mention that it's a flat 4-second cooldown, to my knowledge, at all levels, and hitting a champion grants you the splash damage for 4 seconds, so you can theoretically maintain this ability almost constantly if you're always hitting your abilities. Now, next up is W, Jubilant Veil. Nilah envelops herself in the mist, causing her to briefly gain movement speed, reduce incoming magic damage, and dodge all incoming basic attacks. Touching an allied champion hides them in the mist as well, granting them the same bonuses for half of the duration. This is the ability that we all saw, and we were all wondering what the heck it was about, and at least we were right about the dodge thing. This ability works very well in conjunction with her E as far as applying it to allies is concerned. The cooldown on this is also very long, which is something we're going to see a lot of. From what I was told by writers, only her Q is actually a short cooldown. Everything else is on a pretty long cooldown, and to be honest, it probably should be. Granted, Jax has similar mechanics to this ability that isn't really on nearly as long as a cooldown as it probably should be, given that he can completely neutralize certain champions with it, but in that bot lane scenario with these bot laners, dodge can be so impactful that it seems probably right that it's on a long one. At this point, you might be putting some tangential lines between Samira and Nilah. This question was actually asked to the writers who designed Nilah, and one of them also designed Samira. In this case, just is this Samira too? Apparently they play very differently, although you'll be seeing a lot of similar pieces of kit on the two of them as well. Her E is called Slipstream. Nilah dashes through a target unit, damaging all enemies she passes through, and Nilah can hold 2 charges of Slipstream at once. She can also cast her Q during Slipstream to pull a wave in her path, dealing damage and activating her Q's passive if it hits any champions on the way. This is where the Samira similarities continue, and the ability description doesn't really have any mention of these things, so there's some stuff here that I would maybe want to answer for the questions that you presumably might actually have about it. This is a targeted ability, it is not a dash, so basically exactly the same as Samira. I do not believe that she can use it on anything other than champions, jungle monsters, and champion pets though, so it's not quite like Samira's E, although quite frankly I am not 1000% on this, since the notes that I scribbled were from Tired Ross, and Tired Ross cannot always necessarily be trusted. The cooldown on this is also pretty long again, it's around the 20-second mark, but of course it stores charges, so you can use 2 over time very quickly. It can also go over walls, either by virtue of the person you're targeting being across a wall that you're standing next to. Alternatively, the dash does actually have a fixed distance, so if you're a Yasuo player, it is very similar to how Yasuo's E works. If your teammate is standing next to a wall and you are next to them, if you E them, it will fire you over the wall until the full distance of the dash has been completed. Now, finally, her ultimate is called Apotheosis. Nilah spins her weapon in an area around her, dealing damage and pulling enemies in towards the center with a final burst. This damage heals Nilah for a portion of the damage dealt, converting excess healing into a shield. The healing and the shielding scales with critical strike chance, and it is also shared with nearby allies. This ability was literally likened to Orianna's ultimate, her shockwave ability, if that helps you imagine what this ability's function can be. So, there you have it. Nilah's abilities and some questions that were asked for you. I gotta be honest, I'm a little nervous about how well she's gonna do. That being said, I do love Samira, and she operates kind of similar, although rioters were saying that she doesn't, but I will have to see that to believe that. So realistically, I probably shouldn't be worried about this, although Samira loves engage supports, and Nilah really does want to be having an enchanter support in her lane. It's going to be incredibly interesting to see how a buffed XP mechanic actually works. We've seen it on Zillion, which got removed. We've seen it on Mordekaiser with bot lane, which got removed. I suppose Zillion's XP buff was changed to be that he could right-click people and give them XP, as opposed to doing just like a flat XP buff across his entire team, which made him really, really strong to have in his team, even if he wasn't doing anything by virtue of just giving you a levels advantage over time. Yeah, she looks fun. I am nervous about her being melee, but that being said, it seems like it's probably going to be pretty easy to get her out of melee range just by queuing through the wave or queuing through people to get hits onto champions to then become range for a few seconds. The dodge is going to be cool. That being said, I wonder if she's going to be very susceptible to burst. And it really seems like in the video as well, like, champions like Rakan are going to love to be with Nilah because they both are just going to be dashing to each other, dashing off of each other, giving each other buffs by like landing on each other, and it's just going to be a lot of craziness. A very, very super hyper mobile lane. Yeah, I guess we'll just see what happens. So, thank you so much for clicking on this video and watching it with me. There is a lot to choose from when it comes to watching one of these videos, and for whatever reason you picked mine and you got to the end, so thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. As I said, I will be doing a little bit of Nilah on the PvE a little bit later today if I can. So if you want to check that out, or if you don't want to come to the stream and watch, that's absolutely fine. If you want to maybe put on notifications or subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, I will be posting the gameplay videos and like my first ever game and first ever impressions with her today. And then tomorrow we'll be trying like some dumb builds, like maybe some jungle. Maybe an entire team dedicated to buffing a Yasuo, because now we have an AD carry that can actually just like straight up knock up an entire team as well, and that sounds like a lot of fun. But yeah, check out the clothing line as well. I really should mention it because I feel like I don't mention it nearly enough. We have some cool stuff and a new shirt that is probably almost sold out at this point. Yeah, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.